it is a big night for NASCAR on FX. Other racing as well. Welcome to Concord, North Carolina, just north of Charlotte, the unofficial home office for stock car racing. Tonight, you'll see some great nighttime racing culminating in tonight's all-star event for Winston. We begin, though, with tonight's ARCA race, the Easycare 100, and in the ARCA Remax Series, you'll see some of racing's best up-and-coming drivers. Justin Labonte, Terry's son, Kerry Earnhardt, Junior's older brother, Jason Jarrett, and Stedman Marlin, all sons of big-name NASCAR drivers, will race tonight in the ARCA race, 67 laps or 1 hour, whichever comes first. As you get a look at our location, the Hollywood Hotel. We are trackside along with Jeff Hammond. I'm Chris Myers, and let's just get a quick thought on what the drivers, what's going through their minds as they gear up for tonight, the Winston Open. Really 5 series or segments of racing culminating with the big payoff. And you always tell me, when the money's big, the big names star.
They do. Right now, the guys are down there at their drivers' meeting, listening to some of the comments as they were going to the meeting, as everybody's talking about, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Everybody right now is on the edge of their seats more than ever because they don't know what's going to happen to this racetrack. They didn't get a chance to practice last night, and this is a tough racetrack from daylight to dark, believe me.
All the big names will be gunning over the next 5 hours. We, of course, will be here. Leave it right on FX. You'll see the series of races capped off with the Winston. And it was a crazy go-nuts kind of day and night yesterday. Tony Stewart, Jeff Gordon, Rusty Wallace, all gearing up for the race. The Winston is a race for winners. And so if you come out on top of that, obviously you've won against the best. And the pit crews are tested. And they got a little bit of a test through yesterday and in the evening. And in a lot of the excitement, there were a few mishaps. Michael Waltrip having trouble there on the concrete, but he was okay. Jeff Burton actually had to finish in the darkness as the lights knocked out power. The Hollywood Hotel was lit up. The booth was crazy go nuts. Rusty's on the pole, and we'll be back here in a moment. Lowe's Motor Speedway, glad to have you with us. The ARCA race ready to go. 5 hours, leave it here, culminated with the Winston. So let's take you trackside as we get ready to race and the opening race festivities.
And now, to honor our nation, please join national recording artist Dara Cupp for her rendition of America the Beautiful. Dara Cupp.
Oh, beautiful, for spacious skies, over amber ways of gray, for purple mountains, majesties, above the fruited plain. Shed his grace on thee, and he crowned thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. Oh, oh, beautiful, we've seen throughout the years, those alabasters, cities undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and he crowned thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and he crowned thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. America,
Derek Cup. And now to get things started in tonight's Easycare Vehicle Services Contracts 100 for the most famous words in motorsports. Let's welcome back our Grand Marshal, Mr. Mark Arsenault. Mark, it's all yours.
Drivers, start your engines.
All right, no need for special effects when you've got engines revving here on the FX. It's the beginning of a 5-hour marathon of racing. We go from Derek Cup singing to Winston Cup racing. Right now, ARCA Racing. Let's get out on the track and our Dick Bergman. Dick?
Thanks, Chris. There are two issues of strategy here tonight, and the first is simple survival to the checkered flag. There were two of these ARCA races here last year at Lowe's Motor Speedway. In both, fully a quarter of the field crashed out. Last October, guys were crashed before they even reached the starting line of the very first lap. So that's first. Survive the night with a whole car. Second, many of the teams seem to think that they can go the entire distance without a pit stop. Others think they need 2 tires. Others think they need 4. So pit strategy will be very interesting and very important. To Matt Yoakum.
Dick, in the fall of 1998, the late Adam Petty scored his first career ARCA win right here in Charlotte. Tonight, 4 drivers with famous racing last names start in rows 5, 6, and 7. Names like Justin Labonte, Jason Jarrett, Stedman Marlin, and Billy Venturini hope to follow in Adam's footsteps. All 4 are winless in ARCA competition, but all 4 are confident that can change tonight. To Chris Myers.
All right, and Mike Joy, Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds getting ready to call the ARCA race. Plenty of racing coming your way. Our pre-race show later. Stick around on FX. They'll be moving fast. Don't go away. FX welcomes you back as they're on the track. 38 drivers, 67 laps, or a 1-hour race, whichever comes first. And to call it for you, they'll be here all evening with us on FX. Mike, Larry, and Darrell up in the booth. Mike?
Thanks, Chris. Hi, everybody. The Automobile Race Club of America gets NASCAR's All-Star Night started out here. And, Darrell, you look down through this list, and there's a lot of familiar names like Labonte and Krenifus, and but they're not the people we know.
No, these are the sons of people we know. Lots of sons in this race, and rightfully so. You know, everybody's got to have a warm-up act. And this is the warm-up act for tonight's race. These guys put on a whale of a show. And what I like about this series is they run Charlotte. Next week they may run a mile dirt at Springfield, or they may be at a half mile in Salem, Indiana, or they may be on a quarter mile at Anderson. You just never know where these guys are going to race. They race everywhere, and they race a lot.
And Larry, some of these fellas would go to those different tracks with the same cars, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys, this is their hobby. This is not their way of making a living. But these guys are fast. 10 of these cars qualified at over 180 miles an hour. Whoa. A lot of these are cars that was bought from Winston Cup teams. The only difference in these cars and Winston Cup cars, there are 70 pounds lighter on the right-hand side. And here at Charlotte, where the Winston Cup cars run a right side window in the right side window opening, these cars do not. They felt like they was fast enough without it because those windows will make them even run faster.
Well, you know, Larry, last year Ryan Newman in an ARCA car set the track record here. So we know these cars they're really fast. They got more horsepower than a Winston Cup car.
They're fast. This will be fun to watch. Here's a look at the ARCA Re-Max starting grid for today's race. Tim Steele has his 4th Charlotte pole. He has 4 wins here. Stuart Kirby, who was 5th at Daytona. The teenager starts alongside the front row. David Keith, Mike Swaim Jr., 2nd generation driver there. His dad, former Dash champion. Yep, a couple of Mooresville boys there in row 3. Frank Kimmel, the defending series champ, and Andy Belmont, former dirt track driver from Pennsylvania, who's 3rd in points. There's a Labonte and a Jarrett in row 5, but it's Justin and Jason. Jerry Glanville, the coach, is here in row 6, and that's Sterling's son, Stedman. Billy Venturini, Bill Venturini's son, and Robert Burrows. They're in row 7. Robbie Benton, Ed Barrier, his dad, a famed modified driver in NASCAR. Mark Gibson's here, and Darrell Lanigan in the 9th row. Philip Krenifus, car owner and former Ford racing head Michael Krenifus' son, back there in row 10. Schaefer and Markle in 11. Stan Barrett's son Stanton with Larry Hollenbeck. Robbs and Morlock back at row 13. Damon Lust, the former motocrosser with Chuck Weber. Todd Bousher, the famed Jack Bousher 21. And a look back through the rest of what will be a 38-car starting field. Now, a number of these cars will have to drop to the tail end of the field, Larry.
Yeah, we've got 4 cars. We've got the 95 car Stedman Marlin, the 25 car Billy Venturini, also the 53 car of Robert Burrows, and also the 66 of Stanton Barrett. In ARCA, even if you have an engine problem and you change engines, you have to go to the rear of the starting field. Also, the 4 car Justin Labonte stopped on pit road as the car was leaving to adjust his steering wheel. He has to start at the rear. Pace car is off, coming to the green flag.
Yeah, speaking of start, here we go.
And this can be very exciting. These guys all crashed on the start last year.
Stock Car Racing's All-Star Night is underway with the green flag. Didn't take long to get 3 wide toward turn 1.
No, these guys don't have a lot of time, you know. They only got 67 laps here, so they got to get the job done in a hurry, and they don't mind just cutting each other off.
If they want to run that full 67 laps, they have to be calm, be patient, because 1 hour is the time limit on this race.
Four cars break away, led by Tim Steele.
And the first few laps of these races are always the most tense because the cars are bunched up, and you do have guys out here that are running faster than they probably ever run their whole life.
David Keith second, Mike Swaim Jr. And how about that 75 Stuart Kirby?
He's a cool little kid. He's from Bowling Green, Kentucky, and done a great job at Daytona, finished 5th.
Trouble, the 2 car slides up the racetrack. Kerry Earnhart and gets collected by Jerry Glanville.
Well, I don't think they're still trying to wreck all behind them.
That's Donnie Morlock that went around down on the apron.
The 48 car.
He will get away, but there's damage to Kerry Earnhardt and Jerry Glanville's cars, and we are under the first caution. There's Earnhardt.
Yeah, serious damage to the 2 car there, Earnhardt.
And there's Glanville.
And listen, guys, y'all remind me to stay in the booth, will you?
We'll try. I don't know what we're going to do with you the second half of the season.
I don't either, but the more I watch Glanville race, the more I know this is where I need to be.
Got together, I believe that was Josh Richardson.
And actually it wasn't.
91 car.
Coach had nothing to do with it.
No.
I'm just picking on him because he's that kind of guy.
As they slid down the racetrack, Donnie Murlock, he had nowhere to go, and he had to spin it out. Kerry Earnhardt and Josh Richardson just got together there going in the middle of turn 3 and 4.
It's hard to say if one came up or one came down.
It looked like Kerry got in there underneath of him and pushed up into him.
Contact, carnage, and we're under caution. That's the free C's here at Charlotte.
NASCAR on FX is brought to you by Remax. Outstanding agents, outstanding results.
Welcome back to FX coverage of the ARCA Remax Series from Lowe's Motor Speedway on Stock Car Racing's All-Star Night. A 4-car breakaway at the front of the field, and about mid-pack, Josh Richardson. Now there's another second-generation driver in that white car.
Yeah, that's the 2 and the 91 there. Looked like that they just kind of went for the same spot at the same time. A little early in the race to be arguing about a little real estate, but it cost them both dearly.
There are all those DEI uniforms from the Winston Cup Wars working on Kerry Earnhardt's car. Jerry Glanville has climbed from his number 81. Here's Matt.
Well, Jerry Glanville has climbed from his race car, and Coach, not the kind of tax write-off you wanted. What happened?
Well, I just went down in the 3. Car was handling good, great. I saw Kerry spin. Kerry spin went up. I saw him hit the wall. I tried to get down underneath him. Slid right down in front of me. He couldn't hold it once he got up there, and unfortunately, it just, you know, you don't come here and spend a week to run a lap. Kind of a bad day.
How bad's the car?
Real bad. It's done.
Tough break for Glanville. He reminds me a bit, Darrell, of Marty Robbins, a fellow who has a whole nother occupation in another field, but comes here to the racetrack to have fun.
Yeah, he likes to drive the cars, and he's been doing that for quite a while now, and he just doesn't have a whole lot of luck. He did finish 10th last week in Kentucky, which is probably one of his best performances. So he can drive, but he seems to always find the trouble on the track more than he'd like to, I'm sure.
Green flag, and we're back to racing. At 5 laps, Tim Steele, David Keith, Mike Swaim Jr., and Stuart Kirby bring them back to the green flag.
You know, Frank Kimmel back there in that orange car coming off the corner right there, he has been dominant in this series this year. And he's been the car to beat every week.
Smoker out of turn 2. The 39 car, J.R. Robbs.
I talked to him this morning. What an interesting little individual. 22 years old. Been racing since he was 10 years old. Go-karts, dirt modifieds. This is an Andy Petrie motor that was leased from Andy Petrie Motorsports.
How come all these guys are 20, 22 years old and they race go-karts? And man, I was still driving a tow truck when I was 22 years old.
Daryl, half those kids I talked to this morning in ARCA Garage, my first question, you sure you old enough to be driving out here?
That's what I think. Andy Kirby's that way. Or not Andy Kirby, but Stuart Kirby. He's that way. I mean, I saw him down at Bowling Green. I was at the Corvette plant. He came up to me and he said, I'm the guy that was driving that car at Daytona. I said, you got to be kidding.
No, he did a great job. Ed Barrier, number 19, that light blue car, working underneath Andy Belmont.
Got those left side tires, blow that white line. That's kind of like no man's land. Their old car shoots up the racetrack, but he makes the pass here off turn 2.
Yeah, if you can hit it just right, those left side tires really like that paint down there. They'll get sticking in that paint and really pull that car around the corner. Here comes that 46 car down on the inside.
This guy, he has dominated this series. He's the reigning champion of this series. He's won the last 3 races. We talked about hand-me-down Winston Cup cars. They bought this race car from Roush Racing. It's a car that Martin ran second at Phoenix the end of last year. But it's won 2 of his 3 races. But this guy, he has 5 top 5s out of 6 races.
And of course, it ran a Chevrolet all last year and in the past, but switched over to Ford this year and just really set sail with that thing.
Side by side there for third behind Tim Steele.
Oh, now trouble down turn 4. Big trouble. Bigger trouble.
8, 9 cars are in it, and they're still coming.
All kinds of trouble.
And they're still piling in.
Oh,
wow.
Wow.
Well, you saw that big almost explosion of water. That's the soft walls that Humpy Wheeler has put at the inside of turn number 4. And they just got a workout from the number 8 car of Philip Cranifus.
Holy cow.
He is climbing out and okay. And you see the water-filled barrels there to the right.
Man, there's cars there. They're coming down pit road, torn up. They're up there in the turns. Billy Venturini's car torn all to pieces.
The 48
like that wreck at Daytona.
Yeah, 48 of Donnie Morlock wasn't that lucky this time. The 21 is involved. That's Bauscher. There's Venturini going to the garage.
Yeah, he's just trying to get to the garage.
Now, the 8 car, Philip Cranifus, that's a car that's driven pretty regularly by Shauna Robinson, but this is Michael's son here racing this weekend.
Well,
gets gosh, I think that 7 and 8 car must have gotten together, and
7's Robbie Benton.
Here comes the rest. Look at that.
Here comes everybody.
The wreck, we think it's almost over with here. We see more cars.
Just keep piling in, and the hits just keep coming. Oh boy, here we go.
This is going to be big. See
this is getting worse every time I see it. Boy, that's a lot of torn up equipment right there. Just nowhere for these guys to go. They're coming in around that turn.
Yeah. Track's blocked right now.
160 miles an hour and just nowhere to go, and you can't stop. Wow.
Well, they have a show on FX called World's Worst Drivers. What happens when they crash? Here's what happens when the world's best drivers go at it.
Man.
We'll clean this up in a minute. We're back at Lowe's Motor Speedway, kicking off Stock Car Racing's All-Star Night. It's a hurry-up cleanup because this race has a 1-hour time limit. Todd Schaefer was the last driver to climb from his car number 38, but he is okay. There is the start with Benton and Cranifus, and here is the aftermath.
I believe the 7 car got loose, got up into the 8 car and turned them both around. What happened, turned them both sideways. Kind of one of those air off the spoiler deals.
Now there's Schaefer right side of your screen, and then he gets hit after his car is halted. That's Schaefer spinning in. Yeah, now he's stopped, and here comes everyone else.
There's what the 21 car got into him real hard. Fortunately, it was on the right side.
Dick Berggren.
Damon Luskett came down pit road, dragging his battery. The car was hit so hard, ripped the battery right out of it. He dragged it down pit road. Damon, what happened up there?
To be honest with you, I couldn't tell you. I seen a bunch of smoke up there, and the guy's car sideways everywhere, and got my hand up, and someone said, you know, you just one of them things. I'd have to see the tape to see what happened. But, you know, we come down here to start the race for these guys, and it's a shame. Just want to run some laps, but we'll be back. We working on some stuff, try to get back here and go from there. Watch from the trailer.
2 hours ago in the drivers' meeting, the drivers were cautioned, be sure and finish every lap. Time after time, they were told, take it easy, don't wreck early, and look what's happened.
Damon Luskett came out of the Southwest Tour, and then there you look at the concrete-backed water barrels that Krenifus hit there. That was that big explosion of water absorbing much of the impact, and just up track from that, up toward turn 4, you'll see some of that soft wall technology employed also with water barrels in front of the soft walls.
These are water barrels down here, I believe, and then this is the soft wall up here. And that's something that Humpy's been working on.
Did its job. There's more of it. Let's go back to the first incident back at lap 3 that took Kerry Earnhardt and Jerry Glanville out of this race. There are the two of them side by side. Or rather, there's Earnhardt, that is, after a contact with Richardson and being run into by the one car of Belmont. Kerry Earnhardt's now out of the race. Here's Matt.
Mike there, Napa, Pennzoil, and Budweiser guys working on this number 2 car of Kerry Earnhardt, replacing the radiator, cutting away the damaged parts. Kerry, a tough way to debut this new paint scheme. What happened?
I don't know. We went down turn 3 there and stayed right on the bottom of the white, there next to the white line. And me and 91 got together somehow and just tried to keep it down to keep from causing a real big wreck, and ended up losing control of the car. And a couple cars got me from behind and from the side and everything. And here we are changing the radiator and taking the nose off.
A tough day for the Kannapolis, North Carolina driver.
Dale Earnhardt's oldest son behind the pit wall with his car under repair. There's the Philip Krenifus Ford. And the number 90 of Jason Hedleski, part of a long list of drivers involved in that second crash. That's quite a list.
13 cars. That's a third of the field. So that's the reason Kerry Earnhardt and that group's trying to get back out there.
And we'll get right back here after this. This is ARCA on FX.
Welcome back to Lowe's Motor Speedway and the ARCA Remax Series you're enjoying on FX. The drivers aren't exactly enjoying, as Jeff Hammond and I watch from the Hollywood Hotel just out of turn 4. We've already had more hits.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? I thought they were coming in the hotel with us.
It was a lot of noise here. 13 cars involved, as they pointed out. Jeff, what does that do? This was a 67 lap or 1 hour time limit on the race. So how does that affect things for those that have survived?
What I'm seeing right now is with each caution lap, there goes another minute and a half off that clock. So all of a sudden this race is going to come down to those that are worried about, as far as being concerned about tires or gas or anything like that. You just got to get after it, try to stay out front, and hopefully get the race in before it runs out of time. It's
the beginning of a long night here on FX, and a night of all-star racing. We'll be here to keep an eye on it for you. Let's go down to Matt Yoakum, who's with a veteran of ARCA Racing. Matt?
Well, Billy Venturini is the son of former ARCA champ Bill Venturini. You were worried about having to start at the back after that engine change. This was your worst nightmare, and it came true, Billy.
Unfortunately, it did. And I want to thank lots of people, the sponsors, Caterpillar, Dr. Hall, he helped quite a bit. Permatex has been helping us a lot this year. And I mean, without them guys, I couldn't do this. But it's just a shame because some of the guys up there they were out of control when that green flag dropped today. We get here and we run a 100-mile race, and they think it's a 5-mile race. You know, they run into turn 1 like we don't have to come back. And that's kind of what happened. It just went in there, and probably 3-4 cars had already wrecked, and then the track closed up, and there was nowhere to go, and it's just a big pile. I don't even know how many cars were involved, but I'm sure there were a lot because there was nowhere to go.
A tough break for Billy Venturini, second-generation driver. Dick Berggren?
Well, Tim Steele has won 50% of his starts here at Lowe's Motor Speedway in the ARCA division, and he has been on the radio in conversation with his crew chief, Larry Moore. They are trying to decide whether to stay out or whether they should come in at this point in time. And it has gone on and on and on, this lengthy conversation. I can tell you this, David Keith, who currently is running in 6th position, he is going to come in shortly. He's going to take on tires. They're going to try to correct a little bit of an overheating problem, and right now, as predicted, David Keith on pit road, heading for his pit crew.
You know, that hood on Billy Venturini's car, that was not Dr. Happy Tooth.
No, it wasn't.
Not after all that. That hood's going to need braces and then some.
You know, the only reason I would think to come to pit road there would be to correct a handling problem. I mean, we've only run 3 green flag laps, and right now, at the rate we're going, we're not going to get 67 laps running. Dick Bergman, what are they doing to these cars?
Well, not a whole lot other than firing some tires at it. I'm a bit surprised that they're firing the right size, because the right size are the harder tire. Well, Keith is going to take a 4-tire change out of this thing. They also had been concerned about his car running a little bit hot. 220, 230, that's not all that bad, but they did take the opportunity to clean the grill off in his car. So far, we haven't seen any indication that Tim Steele is going to be coming back down.
Robbie Benton, Stedman Marlin, there the 95 and the 66 of Stanton Barrett, all changing 4 tires. Jeff?
One of the things these guys may get an advantage on, Mike, is the fact of running through all that debris. This may be a golden opportunity since the largest majority of the field is gone now. Come in, get you 4 tires just in case you've run over something.
Yeah, that's what I would expect. They probably think they run over something.
Whole lot better to change it under caution than when they go back racing.
This ARCA race kicks off Stock Car Racing's All-Star Night. The Winston Open at 7:30, the Winston at 9 right here on FX. A lot of pre-race fall-to-all and a lot of fun. And then tomorrow, the NASCAR Busch Series at 12:30 Eastern Time right here on FX. Part of the nation's fastest family of networks. Here is how they're running after 20 laps and nearly 30 minutes of this 67 laps or 1 hour, whichever comes first event. Jason Jarrett's moved up from the back. So Stedman Marlin. David Keith after that pit stop, 15th. Andy Belmont involved in the first accident. He's made a couple of pit stops. And from 26th on back in the garage. Actually from about 22nd on back.
22nd on back,
wow.
Yeah. And we're getting ready to go back racing here again.
A couple of those cars still running. Labonte and Morlock are still in the race, but laps down. Let's get set to go back to green. Keep an eye on Ed Barrier, number 19, who started 16th. He is up to 6th.
And that 46 car, I think he's going to make a big move here pretty quick.
That's Frank Kimmel, defending series champ.
I raced with his dad.
Did you?
Now these guys make me feel all 3 wide. They must not.
Look at these guys. Look at them. They must not have seen the last.
No, they need to get out and watch TV a little while.
One of those was Richardson, the car on the outside, who was involved in the first caution.
Yeah, he's young and brave.
Boy, look at Frank Kimmel in that 46 car. Back to the throttle on the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to make the pass here on Tim Steele coming down the front stretch.
Car just handles so good. Every week I watch these guys run when I can, and that 46 car just always is handling better than everybody else.
All right, let's go back behind the wall with Matt.
Mike, I caught up with Justin Labonte. You're okay, but what happened in that incident?
I really don't know. You know, we had to start in the back, and my spotter said there's a wreck up there, and I had it slowed down, and I could see them coming from behind, but they just ran all over me. I didn't have anywhere to go. I hate it for the guys. They worked awful hard all week on this car, and it was really running good. I was going to try and take my time to, you know, to kind of get through some of the traffic, but it didn't meant to be.
How frustrating to stop and adjust your steering wheel, then have to go to the back after qualifying 9th.
It's pretty frustrating. You know, I've done it in the Busch car before, and you don't go the back there. So I didn't know any better, and but I'd like to thank my sponsor, my dad. It's been a rough week on him. Now we got to get us now. But you know, we're running a few more races later on the year, and we're looking forward to it.
They're going to have a Dodge on this car later in the year, guys.
At the front, Frank Kimmel trying to take off from Tim Steele, Stuart Kirby, and the rest of this field.
Stuart Kirby's got a pretty good hot rod there, and he's getting ready to make a pass on Tim Steele. And this little guy just continues to impress me.
Where Tim Steele in the 16 so weak right here is right here. These guys beat him back to the throttle, and he just can't get off the corner. Whoa, we got trouble right here.
Here we go, around again.
Richardson bangs the wall at turn 4. Barrier slides up into it. It looks like everyone else is going to get by this time.
What a shame. Ed Barrier had a great run going. Started pretty deep in the field.
Well, you know, Larry, it's still pretty hot out there. The sun beaming on that 3rd and 4th turn. We talked about it yesterday in qualifying. That turn is one of the most treacherous turns in racing when it's hot and slick like this.
Boy, Ed Barrier had a fast car. That's a shame for him. It's the second caution. 2 yellows and an almost for Richardson.
Richardson has dodged a couple of bullets.
It's going through turn 3 and turn 4.
And this time it wasn't him. He got caught up in it.
Yeah. Richardson bounced off the wall. Don't know if he hurt his car or not, but he certainly got into the wall. Did a good job of avoiding that accident, though, and got high and got by.
Looked like the car behind Ed Barrier got into him. Who's that yellow car?
That 83 car got down on the apron.
That's Mark Gibson.
83 got down on the apron, come back up on the racetrack, and got into the side of Barrier's car. I think that the 91 car is going to have significant damage to it. He's probably going to have to come back in the pits and work on that thing.
There's another look. There's the left front down on the flat.
Yeah, that 83.
Got it below the apron.
91, actually, nice save by Richardson.
It really was. He did a great job of saving the car, but I think he's got significant damage there. Not going to put him out of the race, but he's going to have to come in and work on it.
Again, this is Donnie Richardson's son, Brett Bodine's nephew, and the biggest racetrack he had run on before tonight was a half-mile down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. This is actually one of Brett Bodine's race car, a car he run at Rockingham, Darlington, and Bristol earlier this year.
Got old Ralph on the hood. That might be old Ralph right there.
Whoa. Now there's a crew.
Now they don't allow that. Y'all know that. You can't ride. It's not a ride-along program here.
No.
You can't go with that. Get out of there.
Well, he's got work to do.
Larry
I think that guy was in there from the start. I think he's just now getting out.
I thought the riding mechanics went out at Indy back about 1919, but
look at him. I'm pretty sure he's been there the whole time.
I'd say if he's been riding, he's had enough.
He had to get out. I don't want no more.
All right, Tim Steele, the 3rd place car, will come to pit road.
He was definitely going backwards. This is a good move. Something was not working on that car. Dick Bergman, major adjustments, I would imagine.
You got it, Larry. Major adjustments. The push coming off has been the problem. So you're going to adjust the track bar. They're also going to pull a rubber out of the right front corner of the car. Before the race, Steele had decided that he was one of those who was going to make a pit stop. So this is relatively planned, although for a while they had talked about staying out and thinking maybe this thing was going to go to the time limit rather than the lap limit. Steele came into this race angry as can be. The last 2 races in a row, he has finished second to Frank Kimmel. He is second in the points to Kimmel. He doesn't like finish second to anybody. So he changed his engine builder just before this race, changed a whole bunch of stuff around, and he's trying to get back to basics. 4 tires going to go on this car. He's going to start dead last, see if he can win this thing.
Robbie Benton also making a stop.
You see that spring rubber he took out at right front? He threw it over the wall.
Softens that right front spring.
Car was just way too tight right in the middle of the corner, and he just couldn't get it to turn. That'll help it turn.
And they felt like they needed to make major adjustments. That he pulled the rubber out of the right front. Also, they raised the track bar. We want to show you what raising the track bar actually means and what they're doing. Car comes in the pits. Crew member goes around to the back of the car. This right here is the track bar, just like the 2 wedge boat adjustments. He'll stick the wedge wrench in there, and he's going to back it counterclockwise. The track bar is hooked to the frame over here to the trailing arm on the left rear. It raises the roll center. When you raise the track bar, it will help the car turn. Plus, pulling that rubber out of the right front will help him as well.
Hope he didn't overdo it.
We'll find out when we come back. We're back under green, 30 laps complete. Frank Kimmel, who has won the last 3 ARCA races, is our leader. Stuart Kirby, with that phenomenal after pit stops by some of the leaders. David Keith at 5th, trying to fight his way back up. Oh, smoker there off turn 4. And a piece of something out from under the 53. Kerry Earnhardt back on track, but
I believe he's going to need to get back off track and get that hood off the race car.
That's the Kannapolis Intimidators. That's the minor league baseball club that the Earnhardt family owns a part of, and they're going to have a different minor league team on that car every race this year.
If I saw that thing coming at me, I'd be intimidated.
Andy Belmont going past Barrett, and here comes Tim Steele in that red number 16 after his pit stop.
4 fresh tires, 2 major adjustments. He's got a long way to get to the front, though.
That car that was blowing up down here in 3 and 4, Mike, you said a smoker. I don't know if he'll make it back to the pits or not. He's real slow around the apron down in turn 3 right now. That's what bottlenecked up all those guys there and almost caused another big wreck.
There he is. See if he has enough, can carry enough speed to get back to pit road.
Yeah, I believe he'll make it.
Back up front, Frank Kimmel by his lonesome. Jeff Hammond.
Guys, I was clocking Tim Steele in the separation between Frank Kimmel and him because it looked like he was making a big move to the front. But because that little bottleneck on the front straightaway, Tim Steele lost 3 seconds to Frank Kimmel right there. He was 4 seconds back. In one lap, he lost, we're 7 seconds behind Kimmel.
Yeah, Jeff, that was almost a big mess again. This 53 car blew up down there in the middle of the corner, and everybody had to slow up to keep from running over him.
That was Robert Burrows, and he has made his way back to the garage.
Starting to get strung out a little bit. That's good news for Steele. He can pick these guys off one at a time. But he lost a lot of distance on the leader.
33 laps or 20 minutes to go in this ARCA race that begins Stock Car Racing's All-Star Night.
If they should go the distance, we just completed the halfway point.
That's Jason Jarrett in 67. Ran some Busch races and now has found a home this year in the ARCA series.
And Darrell, guess who his crew chief is? Red Farmer.
Oh my goodness.
He's been racing longer than you and I have been around together.
Red Farmer is 75 years old and still races a dirt car.
There's a bunch of Jarretts. There's Uncle Glenn. There's Granddad Ned, 2-time Winston Cup champion. And you saw his father Dale Jarrett, who will be very busy later on in this All-Star Night.
And I'm just guessing that he's 75. He might be older than that. I'm not sure. But
I know he was racing around Birmingham when I was born.
Well, he was racing in Nashville before I ever started racing in Nashville. But smart man and a great driver in his time.
Yes, and still driving. Told me about going to run a dirt track race here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, he loves to run those dirt cars.
Gosh. Stuart Kirby at second place. What a young phenom he's been this season, and only his 3rd ARCA start here.
And look at that, just as smooth as silk. Kid is holding a pretty wheel. You got out of that race car and talked to him, you swear he wasn't old enough to drive, Larry.
Seen a lot of kids that didn't look like they were old enough to drive. Matt Yoakum?
Well, Larry, that Stuart Kirby is very happy with that number 75 race car. In fact, they were talking under that caution, if they were to pit, they were not going to make any adjustments. But right now, both the top 2 cars are planning on going the distance at this juncture without stopping. Because of all the yellows at the beginning of the race, they feel like they can go to the distance.
Kimmel the leader, Kirby 1.1 seconds back.
I think we definitely had enough cautions they can go the distance. Some of them was close and borderline on doing it should it go green the whole way. The track is continuing to cool down. That's a little easier on the tires, and this track is definitely one of the most weather sun-sensitive racetracks we go to. Now the whole racetrack is almost getting shade.
Yeah, the grip should pick up now, and unfortunately for all the wrecks that we had early on, but the track's probably better now than it's been the whole since the race started.
Looking back from Andy Belmont. Wonder if he's logged on. Well, probably somebody in the pit is. 39 laps coming up on the board. Frank Kimmel looking for 4 in a row. We'll be right back. Donnie Richardson, 91, closing in on Andy Belmont. Right behind him, the 83 of Mark Gibson. Richardson looking high. Oh, he's gone.
And collects Mark Gibson.
Oh.
Boy, what a night Josh Richardson has had.
Oh, they may get another car. Just squeaking through there. That's the number 15, Larry Hollenbeck. Close call, Larry.
Boy.
And a bad day for Richardson. There he goes.
That's like the 3rd or 4th incident I think he's been involved in.
Again, we got to remember, this is the biggest racetrack he's been at by a mile. No track bigger than a half mile. Just got loose. Nobody really even close to it.
No, he just drove it off down in the corner a little too hard, probably, and lost the back end. She come around.
Puts us under caution at lap 42. And that's going to be all for young Mr. Richardson tonight. And Mark Gibson's car came down pit road in a shower of sparks and behind the wall. Matt?
Well, Mike, Mark Gibson wasn't even supposed to be there, but this deal came together this past week. What happened?
I don't know, 91 car. He got roughed up there to start, and I don't know what was wrong. He's holding me up pretty bad getting in, but he had all kinds of motor. I don't know if Ernie's still doing their motors or not, but it's a pretty strong engine. Dunkin' Donuts came on board last Friday, and wanted to come here, and Jim Gardner called him and got a car, and Joe Ryan got me a motor, and we put all this together Monday and Tuesday and came up here, and we had a top 5 car, you know. We got in a scuffle with a 19 car up there. Thought I had a run on him and got under him, and he squeezed me down to the apron and just went downhill from there. But, you know, we had a good car. I thought we had a top 5 car, and don't know if we could have run with Frank and Tim and those guys, but I just want to thank Dunkin' Donuts and Williams Brothers Lumber, Millsap Automotive Group coming on board. I couldn't have done it without them, but it looks like our day's over.
Tough break for Mark Gibson. Dick Berggren?
Well, usually crew chiefs work from pit road, but Bob Schacht right now, who is crew chief for Stuart Kirby, is way up on top of his hauler here in the garage area. What do you see?
We got 2 spotters. My wife's on top, Patty's up there, and I'm here, and we're just helping them win this race.
And we got the green flag coming out as they come off turn 4.
22 of 44 laps under caution. Tim Steele on the move. He's climbed to 6th after that pit stop, and green is on.
Boy, I tell you what, the 46 car spun his tires. He didn't have them cleaned up good, and he did get a good restart there. He nearly lost the car. Kirby did a good job of jumping out behind him and making the pass.
Definitely looks like he may lose the lead unless he can keep the momentum on the high side here off turn 2.
I don't know. That 46 has got some horsepower, baby.
He is strong.
She strolls down that back straightaway. That thing handles like I like from the handle, right down that straightaway.
And the rookie Kirby allows Kimmel the entry into turn 3.
Look at Tim Steele on the bottom, though. Remember, got those adjustments, 4 fresh tires. He's going to the 4th position here.
That's the red number 16 for Steele.
Well, before that caution, he was really not as fast as the lead cars, but of course he's gained a lot of track position here by virtue of that caution.
Yeah, he was 8 seconds behind.
Now he's working on Lanigan for 3rd place.
I still don't think his car's as good as it needs to be to get up there and challenge the leaders.
Before we went back to racing, everybody had been to pit road except for some reason or another, whether to make adjustments, change tires, or to repair a wreck, except for Frank Kimmel. Also, Kirby had not been to pit road. Lanigan or also Mike Swaim Jr. So only 4 cars have not been on pit road to make adjustments or change tires.
And there's Swaim 22. His car's given up the handle, climbed the hill, and being passed underneath by Jarrett.
I'm gonna tell you what, I'd run my car slam out of gas before I get behind all these guys. I can tell you that. I'm gonna stay out front as long as I can. That's been about the safest place to be so far.
Mike Swaim Jr., of course, his dad winning the Goodies Dash Championship. He's also Ward Burton's spotter on race day.
And I just believe Kirby. I'd like to. It's going to be interesting to see if he can mount a charge here at the end, because he can hang pretty darn close to that 46 car.
38 cars started, 18 are still running. 20 laps to go for the ARCA cars here at Charlotte. 15 laps to go. Frank Kimmel leading by 1.1 seconds. That is no surprise. He's won the last 3 in a row. The man behind him is young man Stuart Kirby, turned 20 years old a week ago. In 1997, he was #1 in world karting, and at age 17 began in the late models at Nashville Speedway.
Yes, he did. He's impressing me. I mean, he is sandwiched in between 2 of ARCA's finest right now, Frank Kimmel and Tim Steele. He's right there in the middle of them, and making just a great performance here tonight.
Stanton Barrett on the move, just took over 4th place. He's about 5.7 seconds behind the leader.
Stanton's dad, Stan, they called him the Rocket Man.
Right. Drove that rocket car
record out at the Salt Flats. Also run some Winston Cup events back in the early 80s.
Hal Needham,
famed Hollywood stuntman.
Burt Reynolds.
Yeah. Dick?
And he is playing hurt tonight, Mike. He broke his femur badly last winter in his snowmobile racing accident. And just a couple of weeks ago, he had a bunch of screws taken out of his left leg. He is a left leg breaker. That, by the way, was the 35th bone this kid has broken in his body. He is a stunt man out in Hollywood, California for a living.
Tough way to make a living. Almost as hard as driving race cars.
35 broken bones. Ooh. Kimmel now 1.3 seconds up on Kirby. Steele closing in on the second place car bit by bit. It's about 3.1 seconds second to third. There's Steele.
Looks like Barrett is closing up on Steele little by little. It's going to be a challenge for that third position here before long, I believe.
He's about a tenth or two quicker than Tim Steele right
Steele's car just never has been right tonight, and I think those adjustments he made helped him short term. Car's still just not where it needs to be.
Little lap traffic, and Darrell's that a bad place to catch that lap car of Kerry Earnhardt, who's back out from the garage, right in that in the quad oval here?
No, not right through here, but right there where Barrett caught him, it was going down into turn one. You need to get to the bottom, and he was in his way right there. Probably cost him a little time.
We're down to 17 cars. Stedman Marlin exits the race with engine trouble in his Sadler Racing number 95.
Well, I know he's unhappy, but I bet his mom's sigh of relief.
The ARCA officials indicating that the 1 hour time limit is a guideline and not an actual fixed limit. They believe they'll be able to get these 10 laps in without interfering with the pre-race and preparations for the Winston tonight.
Well, this is something Frank Kimmel he don't want to see right now. All this lap traffic.
Man, that car he just passed got down on the apron and almost got up into him.
That would be the worst nightmare of leading this race, would be lap traffic.
And I was worried about, Kirby having the most trouble with traffic because he's kind of a young guy and a rookie. But boy, Kimmel almost got taken out by that slow car.
Kimmel passes Ron Cox and the number 6 of Tim Mitchell without incident.
He's still got more lap traffic up in front of him he's going to need to contend with.
Well, Stuart Kirby's catching these cars about where you'd like to, down the straightaway and in the exit of the turns. Kimmel, on the other hand, has caught him in all the wrong places, it seemed like.
Now, last lap, it was 1.58 seconds, first to second.
He gained a little bit more, Mike. 1.6 seconds, but Stuart Kirby had caught traffic in the wrong place over in turn 3 and 4.
Right, Jeff?
Yeah, Mike, we keep talking about catching this lap traffic just so everybody understands that these lead cars are running as much as 15 miles an hour faster than some of this traffic they're overcoming. So it gets very anxious when these guys come up on them that quick.
Well, he just got caught up some more there. Kimmel did, and Kirby really gained on him in that corner.
Yeah, he cut it from 1.6 seconds down to half a second. And you see how much quicker even Tim Steele was than the two leaders.
Cost Frank Kimmel 7-8 miles per hour.
Wow.
Tim Steele has the fastest race car right now, but he's 3.5 seconds behind with 7 laps to go. That's a lot of ground to make up.
You lose momentum like that, you do a lot of talking to the car to get that momentum back up.
Oh, that's when you're glad that you got that radio in there, because rather than talking to yourself, you can talk to your crew chief or some of your crew members, and they'll say, what did he say?
Back up to a second now.
He gained, half of what he had lost back. So he's got a fast race car, just catching lap traffic in the wrong places. We've got 6 laps to go.
I believe Kimmel probably decided to tiptoe by some of these cars after what almost happened to him down here in turn 3. I tell you, that was mighty close. I think he's been a little more cautious with these lap cars now. And his car is fast enough that he doesn't have to force the issue.
In the last 6 races, Frank Kimmel's had 5 top 5s and 3 wins in the last 3 events.
And he won here in 1998 a couple of years ago.
Well, his brother, the owner of that car, is Larry Clemens, and that's Conrad Clemens, who owns Featherlight. That's his brother.
Featherlight trailer. That's the
Featherlight
company
trailers.
that builds about every trailer
all these
that every
trailers
race
down
team
here.
has here.
And I tell you, they have got an awesome program going. That car has just been incredible this year, particularly. Well, this year particularly, it's been the last couple of years that's been the dominant car. At one time, we'd come to these races, we'd expect Tim Steele to win all of them, and he did. and Kimmel's kind of replaced him.
Darrell, this young fellow, though, Stuart Kirby, how many Winston Cup owners do you think have an eye on this young fellow?
I tell you, I'd be thinking mighty seriously about him. After seeing how he run at Daytona, he did just a masterful job down there. This is not an easy racetrack to come to and run well. Here he's in second place, and a very, very respectable run tonight. That's a good race car, and he's doing a great job.
To finish second at Charlotte Motor Speedway, all the Winston Cup car owners standing on top of these trailers watching what's going on. Not a bad night.
Not a bad night. Cat in the Hat will be calling him.
Someone will. Dick?
And Stuart Kirby's night will not be over when the checkered flag falls here, Mike. Once this is all done and over with, he is going to sprint out of this place and head to the Nashville Speedway. He's planning to run a short track race later tonight.
Now, that's my kind of racer right there. That's the way we used to do it in the old days. See how many races we could run in one day. Run somewhere in the afternoon, somewhere that night, and you drive all night to get to the race the next day.
Well, we won't have any trouble with the traffic. It's all headed into Lowe's Motor Speedway for the running of the Winston Open.
Now, I used to have to hurry back to Nashville back in the old days so I could win enough money to keep going in the Winston Cup Series. Maybe that's his plan.
Frank Kimmel going to come around for the white flag. And it'll be 1 to go.
Over a 2.5 second lead. He just needs to be smooth here on this last lap. If he catches in lap traffic, just take his time.
Stuart Kirby across the stripe, 2.6 seconds back, and a further 2.6 seconds back to Tim Steele.
Not a bad night for Stanton Barrett either. That's a good run for him, and Keith, another good night for him as well.
Coming off turn 4 for the final time, and the defending ARCA Series champion makes it 4 wins in a row. Kimmel picks up his 27th career ARCA victory. There's
pretty
a look
much
from the Advanced Auto Parts.
Pretty much rewriting the ARCA record book right now.
Every single week.
It's got Advance and the nation's pork producers.
I got to tell you this story real quick. I was running an ARCA race, and John Markham, who started this series and was the father of this series, I was on pole at Nashville, and he came over to me before the race started. I'd qualified like a second quicker than anybody else, and he said, let me ask you something, Darrell, do you like to fish? I said, no, sir, I don't fish. I just race. That's all I do. Well, if you get out here and stink up my show tonight, you're going to come in the pits, and me and you going to talk about fishing for a while. They're going to be telling Kimmel that before long.
Kimmel's going to be over there at Bass Pro Shop over at Concord Mills investing in lures for next week after his 4th ARCA win in a row. Frank Kimmel the winner. Stuart Kirby, a week after his 20th birthday, claims 2nd. Tim Steele, after his pit stop, 3rd. Stanton Barrett, a fine 4th place run, and David Keith
from Owensboro, Kentucky.
Lanigan, Jarrett, Swain, Belmont, and Cowart, the top 10. 16, make that 17 cars, counted the damaged machine of Kerry Earnhardt, took the checkered flag.
Finished 20th after being in that wreck 29 laps down. He knew it would pay off to get back out there.
And it did.
All these cars involved in that big wreck back on lap 8. Most of them. And the coach, Jerry Glanville.
Poor old coach.
ARCA point standings, Tim Steele falls a bit further back from Frank Kimmel. Jason Jarrett 3rd, Andy Belmont 4th, and Ron Cox 5th in points.
Rev that thing up. Boy, that's exciting, isn't it?
Familiar sight. Frank Kimmel in an ARCA victory lane.
You the man, Frank.
ARCA Remax Series banners going up. Coming up, the Winston Open. And that no bull shootout for the last transfer spot and the Winston. NASCAR's All-Star Night. And a lot of pre-race ceremony to come here on FX.
Got his Hans device on.
Like to see that.
Smart man. And you know what's his fun? It's 4 wins in a row, and he's still excited. Every time you win, it never gets old. Talk to him, Matt.
Well, Frank Kimmel climbs up on top of the car. Everybody celebrating down here. Frank, boy, just how great was that race car?
Yeah, I think it showed it tonight. What a car. We threw a bunch at it right before the race. We knew we were too tight yesterday, and with all that sun and everything we had, I didn't know if we made the right choice, but Bill and the guys did a great job, and man, what a car. That was great. Got to thank Advanced Auto Parts and Pork. You know, their greatest sponsor is ARCA. We got the greatest car right now. It's great.
He sure does. 4 straight wins.
4 in a row. Pretty good show.
Actually, his brother's the crew chief on that car, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Frank Kimmel, point leader, defending champion, and now 4-in-a-row winner. Great night for Stuart Kirby, Tim Steele, Stanton Barrett, David Keith. It was a wild one, and we've just started Stock Car Racing's All-Star Night. A big pre-race to come for the Winston. Stay with us here on FX.